The stars were cold and distant when Commander Thexval first saw the small blue planet. His ship hung in the darkness beyond the outer edge of the solar system, watching and waiting. For 3 months, his scouts had been studying this world, called Earth. Another easy conquest, he told his officers during the morning briefing. The holographic display showed Earth spinning slowly in the center of the room. The beings down there still use primitive rockets to leave their planet. They fight each other over small pieces of land. They will surrender quickly when they see our ships. His second-in-command, a tall alien with 4 arms, nodded in agreement. The intelligence reports show they discovered nuclear power only 70 years ago. Most of their communications are still sent through metal wires and radio waves. They are centuries behind our technology. Thexval smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. The Velnari Empire had conquered 43 worlds in the past 200 years. Every time, it was the same story. The aliens would arrive, show their superior weapons, and the primitive species would bow down in fear. Some tried to fight back, but none lasted more than a few days. "How many ships will we need?" asked the weapons officer. 200 should be more than enough, Thexval replied. "Perhaps we are being too careful. 50 ships could probably handle this entire world." The commander looked at the planet again. It was pretty, with blue oceans and white clouds. Soon it would belong to the Empire, and its people would work in the mines and factories like all the others. But Thexval did not know that far below on Earth's surface, someone was watching back. Dr. Hyunwoo Kim stood in the control room of the Deep Space Research Center in Seoul, South Korea. Banks of computers hummed around him, their screens filled with numbers and graphs. For the past week, something had been bothering him. The radio telescopes were picking up strange signals from the outer solar system. "Dr. Park, come look at this," he called to his colleague across the room. Dr. So-Young Park walked over, carrying a cup of coffee. She was younger than Hyunwoo, but just as smart. "What did you find now?" she asked with a smile. Hyunwoo was always finding strange things in space that turned out to be nothing special. "Look at these energy readings," Hyunwoo pointed at his screen. "They started appearing 5 days ago. The pattern is too regular to be natural." So-Young looked at the data for a moment. "It could be a pulsar we haven't discovered yet, or maybe interference from one of our own satellites." "No, I checked all of that." Hyunwoo shook his head. "This is something else. Something big is out there and it's moving." "Moving where?" "Toward us." So-Young frowned. She trusted Hyunwoo's instincts, but this sounded crazy. "Are you saying there's an alien ship heading for Earth?" "I'm saying there's something artificial out there, and it's not one of ours." Before So-Young could reply, the phone rang. Hyunwoo answered it quickly. "Dr. Kim, this is Captain Lee from the Korean Space Force. We need to talk to you right away." 30 minutes later, Captain Dongmin Lee arrived at the research center with 2 other officers. He was a serious man in his 40s who commanded the Deep Space Monitoring Division, a secret military unit that most people didn't know existed. "Dr. Kim," Captain Lee said as they sat down in the conference room, "we've been tracking the same signals you found. Our satellites detected them 3 days ago." "So you believe they're artificial too?" Hyunwoo asked. "We're certain of it," replied Communications Officer Ji-won Choi, a young woman with sharp eyes. "We've identified at least 12 separate sources, all moving in formation toward the inner solar system." Dr. Park looked shocked. 12? I only found traces of 1 signal." "Your equipment isn't designed for military tracking," Captain Lee explained. "Ours is, and what we're seeing is very concerning." He opened a laptop and showed them a 3-dimensional map of the solar system. Red dots marked the positions of the unknown objects. "They're maintaining perfect formation," Officer Choi continued. "No natural phenomenon could do that. These are ships and they're being controlled by intelligent beings." "Ships from where?" So-Young asked. "We don't know yet, but based on their trajectory and speed, they'll reach Earth's orbit in approximately 6 weeks. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. "Have you contacted other governments?" Hyunwoo asked. "All major space agencies are being briefed as we speak," Captain Lee replied. "But we're keeping this information classified for now. We don't want to cause panic until we know more about their intentions." "What if their intentions are hostile?" Dr. Park asked quietly. Captain Lee's expression grew darker. Then we have 6 weeks to prepare for the first alien invasion in human history, far above Earth, in a space station that officially didn't exist. Colonel Wu Jin Nam was having a very different conversation. His office was small and cramped, filled with monitors showing data from around the world. Project Thunderbolt was so secret that only 50 people knew it existed. "Sir." His aide entered the room, carrying a thick folder. "The latest satellite reports are in." Colonel Nam opened the folder and read quickly. His face remained calm, but inside he felt a mixture of fear and excitement. For 15 years he had been preparing for this day, the day when humanity would need to defend itself against something from the stars. "How many of our defensive satellites are currently operational?" he asked. 87%, sir. "The quantum communication network is fully active, and all directed energy weapons are online." "Good. And the other countries?" "The Americans have similar capabilities, but their network is smaller. The Russians, Chinese, and Europeans have been briefed and are activating their own defensive systems." Colonel Nam nodded. Project Thunderbolt had been developed in secret after several strange incidents in the early 2020s. Objects had been detected entering the solar system and then disappearing. Most scientists explained them as unusual asteroids or comets, but a few military leaders suspected something else. They had been right to be suspicious. "Sir, there's something else," the aide continued. "Our deep space sensors have detected what appears to be a large fleet assembled beyond Neptune's orbit. Initial count suggests over 200 vessels." 200, Colonel Nam repeated quietly. "They're not taking any chances." He walked to the window and looked down at Earth. The planet looked peaceful from space, with no signs of the activity happening in secret military facilities around the world. But that peace was about to end. "Prepare a briefing for the World Defense Council," he ordered. "It's time to tell them what we've really been building up here." In the depths of space, Commander Thexeval received his final orders from the Velnari High Command. The conquest fleet was ready. 200 ships, each one capable of destroying an entire city, were moving toward the small blue planet. "Begin the approach," he commanded. "Maintain stealth formation until we reach the outer atmosphere. Then we broadcast the surrender demand." His officers moved quickly to carry out the orders. None of them were worried. This was just another primitive world that would fall quickly to the Empire's might. But as the alien fleet began its final approach toward Earth, they had no idea that they were flying toward a trap that had been 15 years in the making. Humanity had been preparing, watching, and waiting. The hunters were about to become the hunted. The message came at exactly 3:47 a.m. Seoul time, but it reached every device on Earth at the same moment. Phones buzzed, televisions turned on by themselves, and computer screens filled with strange symbols that slowly changed into words. "Attention, primitive beings of the third planet. You have been chosen for incorporation into the Velnari Empire. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Resist and your world will burn. You have 72 hours to respond." In Seoul, Minister of Defense Tae Ho-shin was pulled from his sleep by 3 phone calls at once. His security team, his military advisors, and the president were all calling simultaneously. The alien message was playing on every screen in his bedroom. "Sir, we need you at the emergency command center immediately," his aide said over the phone. "Every world leader is being briefed right now." 20 minutes later, Tae-ho sat in a secure conference room with the president and the top military commanders. On the main screen, the alien message played again in broken Korean, English, Chinese, and dozens of other languages. "They're using our own communication networks," General Kim reported. "Somehow they hijacked every satellite, every cell tower, every internet connection on the planet simultaneously." "How is that possible?" the president asked. "We don't know yet, sir, but Dr. Han from the university is on her way to help us understand the message better." Dr. Yoonji Han arrived 30 minutes later, still wearing her pajamas under a hastily thrown-on coat. She was the country's leading expert in linguistics and had been studying alien communication theories for years, though she never expected to use that knowledge for real. "Let me hear the message again," she said. pulling out a tablet and starting to take notes. As the alien words played, Yoonji frowned and shook her head. "This is very strange," she said. "Their Korean is terrible. It sounds like they learned it from old television shows." "What do you mean?" Minister Shin asked. "They're using words and grammar patterns that were common in the 1970s, but nobody talks like that anymore. It's like they've been watching our old TV broadcasts and think that's how we still speak." She played back the English version of the message. "Same thing here. They're using phrases that sound like they came from American movies from 50 years ago." "So they've been watching us for decades?" General Kim asked. "Yes, but they're using very old information. They don't understand how much our languages have changed or how our technology has advanced." Dr. Hyun-woo Kim was called to the meeting. An hour later, he brought his data about the energy signatures and showed everyone the tracking information his team had gathered. "Based on their approach pattern," he explained, "they've been observing us from the outer solar system for at least 6 months. But I think Dr. Han is right about them using old information." He pulled up another screen showing radio signals leaving Earth over the past century. "Our strongest radio and television broadcasts from the 1970s and 1980s would have reached their position about 40 years ago. If they started planning this invasion based on those signals, they think we're still using primitive computers and simple nuclear weapons." Minister Shin leaned forward. "So they don't know about our recent advances?" "That's what I'm thinking. They expect to find a world with 1980s technology, not 2025 technology." In a secure facility beneath Seoul, Colonel Woojin Nam was having a similar realization. He stood before a wall of monitors showing Project Thunderbolt's hidden capabilities, spread across the solar system. "Sir," Lieutenant Park reported, "our quantum sensors have analyzed the alien fleet's approach. They're not using any advanced stealth technology." "What do you mean?" "They think they're invisible to us because they're beyond the range of conventional radar. But our quantum detection grid has been tracking every ship since they entered the outer solar system." Colonel Nam smiled grimly. "So they don't know we can see them?" "No, sir. And based on their formation pattern, they're preparing for a primitive nuclear age defense. Their ships are positioned to handle missiles and fighter jets, not quantum-entangled, directed energy weapons." "How many do we count?" 207 ships, sir. All of them following predictable military formations from our own history books." Colonel Nam walked to his command chair and activated the secure communication line to military leaders around the world. "Attention all Thunderbolt stations. The aliens have made their first mistake. They're fighting the last war, not the current. 1. Dr. So-Young Park was working late in the research center when Dr. Kim returned from his government meeting. She had been analyzing the alien broadcast signal, trying to understand how they had taken control of Earth's communication systems. "Hyunwoo, look at this," she called out excitedly. "I figured out how they hijacked our networks." "How?" "They didn't actually hack into our systems. They used our own satellites' broadcast frequencies against us. It's actually quite clever, but also very revealing." She showed him the technical analysis on her computer. "They sent a signal that mimicked our standard broadcast protocols, but with much more power behind it. Our satellites automatically boosted and retransmitted the signal because they thought it was regular programming." "So they understand our basic communication technology?" "Yes, but only the basic parts. They use techniques that would have worked perfectly in the 1990s. But modern systems have security measures they don't know about." Hyunwoo stared at the data. "So Young, I think they've made a huge mistake." "What kind of mistake?" "They've shown us how their communication system works. If we can send a signal that mimics their protocols, we could hack into their networks, the same way they hacked into ours." Across the city, Yoon Ji-han was having dinner with her family when she suddenly stopped eating. Her daughter noticed her mother's strange expression. "Mom, what's wrong?" "I just realized something about the alien message," Yoon-ji said, reaching for her phone. "I need to call the minister right away." She dialed the secure number she had been given. "Minister Shin, this is Dr. Han. I need to tell you something important about the alien language patterns." "What did you find?" "They made a mistake in their translation. In the Korean version, they used a word that reveals something about their society. What kind of word? They called us primitive beings, but the specific term they used suggests they think of us as animals, not intelligent creatures. In their language structure, they have different words for primitive intelligent species and primitive animals. They used the animal word. Why is that important? Because if they truly thought we were intelligent, they would have sent a more complex message. The fact that they sent such a simple surrender demand means they believe we're barely smarter than pets. Minister Shin was quiet for a moment. Dr. Han, that might be the best news I've heard all day. Why? Because if they think we're stupid animals, they won't be prepared for what we're actually capable of. Later that night, in emergency meetings around the world, human leaders began to realize that the alien invasion fleet had made several critical errors. They had underestimated human technology, revealed their own communication methods, and shown that they expected no real resistance. In Washington, the American president spoke with military advisors. In Moscow, Russian generals activated hidden defense systems. In Beijing, Chinese scientists began preparing quantum communication networks, but it was in a small office in Seoul where the most important decision was made. Colonel Nam, Minister Shin, Dr. Kim, and Dr. Han sat around a table covered with reports and data. So what do we do? Minister Shin asked. Do we surrender and hope they treat us well? Do we fight back with everything we have? Colonel Nam smiled. I have a third option. What's that? We show them exactly how wrong they are about us, not with weapons but with knowledge. What do you mean? They sent us a message using our own communication systems. I say we send them a message back using their communication systems. And we show them that the primitive animals of Earth know a lot more than they think. Dr. Han leaned forward. What kind of message? The kind that will make them realize they're not the hunters anymore. They're the ones being hunted. Outside, the alien fleet continued its approach toward Earth, confident that victory was only hours away. But down on the planet's surface, humanity was preparing to send a message that would change everything. The 72-hour countdown had begun, but Earth was not preparing to surrender. They were preparing to teach their would-be conquerors the most important lesson in the galaxy: never underestimate humanity. 48 hours after the alien ultimatum, Min-Ho Kang sat in front of 12 computer screens in a secret facility beneath Seoul. He was one of Earth's best quantum communication engineers, and for the past 2 days, he had been working on the most important project of his life. Are you ready? Colonel Nam asked, standing behind him. Almost, Min-Ho replied, his fingers moving quickly across the keyboard. I've isolated their communication frequency and matched their quantum signature. When they sent their message through our systems, they left a trail we can follow back to their ships, like following footprints in the snow, Colonel Nam said. Exactly. But instead of footprints, it's quantum data patterns. On the other side of the room, Dr. Eugene Park was studying holographic displays showing the alien fleet's positions. She was a military strategist who had spent years analyzing space combat scenarios that everyone thought were just science fiction. Their formation is interesting, she told her assistants. They're arranged in a classic planetary assault pattern from our own military textbooks. It's like they studied human warfare from 50 years ago and decided to use our own tactics against us. Is that good or bad for us? One of the assistants asked. It's very good. It means they're predictable. Look here, she pointed to the display. They have their command ships in the center, surrounded by attack vessels with support ships in the rear. It's efficient, but it has a major weakness. What weakness? If you can reach the command ships, you can disrupt their entire formation. They're not expecting anyone to have weapons that can strike across that distance. In another part of the facility, Jae Hyun-oh was working with the most advanced artificial intelligence system on Earth. The AI, called Aria, had been designed to process and translate massive amounts of information at incredible speeds. Aria, show me what you've learned about their language patterns, Jae Hyun said. The AI's voice filled the room, calm and clear. Analysis complete, Dr. Oh. The alien communication system uses 23 different protocols, but they all follow similar mathematical structures. I have successfully decoded their primary command frequencies. Can you translate human information into their formats? Yes. I can convert any human language, scientific data, or cultural information into formats they will understand. Their translation systems are sophisticated but limited. They expect simple responses from primitive species. Jae-hyun smiled. What if we give them a response that's not simple at all? That would likely cause significant confusion in their command structure. 20 minutes later, all the team leaders gathered in the main control room. Colonel Nam stood at the center, looking at reports from around the world. Status report, he said. Minho spoke first. Communication hack is ready. I can send a signal directly to their command ship using their own quantum frequencies. Yu Jin was next. I've identified 3 unmanned scout ships at the edge of their formation. They're perfect targets for a demonstration. What kind of demonstration? Colonel Nam asked. Our directed energy satellites can destroy those ships with pinpoint accuracy. It will show them we have weapons they don't know about, but it won't hurt any of their crew members. Jae-hyun raised his hand. Arya has prepared a complete data package. It includes translations of human mathematics, science, and cultural information in all 23 of their communication formats. But the most important part is the tactical analysis. What tactical analysis? Arya has studied their fleet formation and identified 47 critical weaknesses. We're going to send them a complete breakdown of how we could destroy their entire fleet if we wanted to. Colonel Nam nodded slowly. So our response will have 3 parts. First, we hack their communications to show we can reach their systems. Second, we destroy 3 of their ships to show we have advanced weapons. Third, we send them detailed information about their own weaknesses to show we've been studying them. Correct, Yu Jin said. It's not just a response. It's a demonstration that they've completely underestimated us. And the message itself? Dr. Yoon Ji-han, who had been quiet until now, stepped forward. She had been working with Arya to create the perfect translation of humanity's response. The message is simple, she said. We tell them that we've been watching them since they entered our solar system. We explain that their information about us is 50 years out of date. And we offer them a choice, peaceful contact and knowledge sharing, or a war they cannot win. But we say it in their own language, using their own cultural concepts, Jae-hyun added. Arya has learned enough about their society to phrase the message in ways that will shock them. Colonel Nam looked around the room. Are we ready? Everyone nodded. Then let's show these aliens what humanity is really capable of. On the Velnari command ship, Commander Thexval was feeling confident. The 72-hour deadline was almost over, and the primitive planet below had sent no response. Soon the final phase of the conquest would begin. Sir, his communications officer called out. We're receiving an incoming transmission. From the planet? Yes, sir. But this is strange. The signal is coming through our own communication arrays. Thexval frowned. That's impossible. Our systems are encrypted with quantum protocols. No primitive species could. His words were cut off as every screen on the command bridge displayed the same message, written in perfect Velnari script. Greetings, Commander Thexval of the Velnari Empire. We are the humans of Earth. We have been monitoring your fleet since you entered our solar system 127 days ago. Your intelligence about our capabilities is incorrect. The commander's forearms trembled slightly. How do they know my name? How did they get into our systems? Before anyone could answer, alarms began ringing throughout the ship. The weapons officer shouted from his station, Sir, 3 of our scout ships just disappeared. They were destroyed by some kind of directed energy beam. From where? The energy came from everywhere, sir. Multiple directions simultaneously. I'm detecting at least 47 weapons platforms throughout their solar system. On the main screen, the human message continued. We have just demonstrated our defensive capabilities by destroying 3 of your unmanned scout vessels. No crew members were harmed, as these ships were automated. This was not an act of war, but a demonstration of precision. Commander Thexval sat down heavily in his command chair. How many weapons platforms did you say? 47 that I can detect, sir. But there could be more. The message on the screen changed to display detailed technical specifications of the Velnari fleet. Ship names, crew numbers, weapon capabilities, and tactical formations were all listed with perfect accuracy. Attached you will find complete analysis of your fleet composition and battle formations. We have identified critical weaknesses in your defensive positioning. If we desired to destroy your fleet, we could do so within 18 minutes. The communications officer looked at his instruments in disbelief. Sir, they're sending us technical data about our own ships that's more detailed than our own records. But also scientific information, the science officer added, studying another part of the transmission. Mathematical proofs I've never seen before. Solutions to physics problems our best scientists have been working on for decades. The human message concluded, we offer you a choice, Commander Thexval. Withdraw your fleet and open diplomatic communications for peaceful knowledge exchange, or continue your aggressive approach and discover why 43 species were not. Enough preparation for humanity. You have 12 hours to decide. The transmission ended, leaving the Velnari command bridge in complete silence. Finally, the second-in-command spoke quietly. Sir, what are your orders? Commander Thexval stared at the tactical display showing his fleet. For the first time, in his military career, he felt afraid. Send a message to High Command, he said slowly. Tell them we may have made a serious mistake. Back on Earth in the secret facility beneath Sol, Colonel Nam and his team watched as their message was received by the alien fleet. Think it worked? Minho asked. Dr. Eugene Park was monitoring the alien fleet's movements on her displays. Their formation is breaking up. Ships are moving to defensive positions. I think we got their attention. Good, Colonel Nam said. Now we wait and see if they're smart enough to choose peace over war. But he was already preparing for both possibilities. If the aliens chose peace, humanity would gain its first contact with galactic civilization. If they chose war, they would learn why Earth had spent 15 years preparing for this exact moment. The next 12 hours would determine the future of both species. 6 hours after humanity's demonstration, Da-Eun Lim sat in the newly created Interstellar Communications Center in Seoul. She had been chosen as Earth's first director of alien contact, a job that didn't exist a week ago. Now she was preparing to deliver the most important message in human history. Are you ready, Director Lim? Colonel Nam asked. As ready as anyone can be for this, Da-Eun replied, looking at the screens around her. Area has finished preparing the complete data package. It's bigger than anything we've ever transmitted. How big? If we printed it out, it would fill a building. But it's not just information. It's a demonstration of how fast human science advances. Dr. Sung-Ho Bae entered the room carrying a tablet full of equations. He was a theoretical physicist who had been working on problems that most people thought were impossible to solve. The quantum field equations are ready, he announced. Arya confirmed that these problems have been stumping Velnari scientists for over 300 years. And you solved them in 3 days? Colonel Nam asked. Actually, I solved most of them 2 years ago. I just never published the work because I thought no one would understand it yet. Da-Eun shook her head in amazement. So we're going to give them the answers to problems their best scientists can't solve. That's just the beginning, said Hyejin Kwan, walking in with her own stack of reports. She was a specialist in studying alien societies, though until this week, that had been purely theoretical work. What did you find in their cultural data? Da-Eun asked. Everything, Hyejin replied. When they hacked our communications, they accidentally gave us access to their historical databases. I've spent the past 4 days analyzing their empire. She pulled up a holographic display showing the Velnari territories. Their empire isn't as stable as they pretend. 3 of their member species are on the edge of rebellion. 2 others are planning to declare independence within the next 50 years. How can you know that? Social mathematics. Every civilization follows predictable patterns when it comes to cultural stress and political change. Their own data shows the warning signs, but they're too focused on external conquest to notice internal problems. Colonel Nam studied the display. So their empire's already falling apart? It will be soon. And when we send them this analysis, they'll realize that a species they thought was primitive understands their own society better than they do. Chang Wu-Yun, Earth's new diplomatic liaison, raised his hand. What about the other part of the message, the technological gifts? Dr. Bay smiled. We're giving them 3 complete technological solutions. First, a new type of energy generation that's twice as efficient as anything they currently use. Second, a method for faster-than-light communication that doesn't require quantum entanglement. Third, a medical technology that can extend their lifespans by 30%. We're just giving this away for free? Chang Wu asked. That's the point, Dawn explained. We're showing them that humanity shares knowledge instead of hoarding it. But each gift also contains a subtle message. What kind of message? Each technology requires scientific understanding that's more advanced than what the Velnari currently possess. We're proving that we're not just equal to them. In some areas, we're ahead of them. Arya's voice filled the room. Transmission. Package is complete and ready for delivery. Warning. This message will be detected by every spacefaring civilization within 50 light years. That's intentional, Colonel Nam said. We want other species to hear this. Are you sure that's wise? Chang Wu asked. What if it attracts more hostile aliens? It might, Daun replied. But it will also attract friendly ones. And every species will know that Earth is not defenseless. She stood up and walked to the main communication console. Arya, open a channel to the Velnari command ship. Channel open, Director Lim. Daun took a deep breath and began to speak. Her words were automatically translated into perfect Velnari and transmitted across space at faster-than-light speeds. Commander Thexval, this is Director Dayun Lim of Earth. We are sending you detailed scientific and cultural information as a gesture of good faith. Please study it carefully. On the Velnari command ship, Commander Thexval watched as massive amounts of data poured into their systems. His science officers worked frantically to process the information. Sir, the chief scientist reported, the mathematical proofs are correct. These equations solve problems we've been working on for centuries. And the cultural analysis? Thexval asked. The intelligence officer looked uncomfortable. It's accurate, sir. Frighteningly accurate. They've identified political tensions within our empire that even our own analysts haven't fully recognized. How is that possible? They're using analytical methods we've never seen before. Social prediction algorithms that are far more sophisticated than ours. The science officer interrupted. Sir, there's more. They've included complete technical specifications for 3 technologies that could revolutionize our civilization. Are they trying to buy us off? I don't think so, sir. Each technology comes with a detailed explanation of the scientific principles involved. It's like they're trying to teach us, not just give us tools. Thexval studied the data flowing across his screens. What's your assessment? Sir, the intelligence officer said quietly. I think we've made a terrible mistake. This species isn't primitive, they may be more advanced than we are. The commander was quiet for a long moment. Then he noticed something else on his displays. Are those new signals? Yes, sir. The human transmission is being detected by other civilizations. We're receiving response signals from at least 12 different species. 12. The Kethmaran Republic is requesting permission to establish diplomatic contact with Earth. The Zephyrian Collective is transmitting mathematical greetings. And sir, we're receiving coded messages from the Vorthan and Kellen systems. Thexval's forearms went rigid. The Vorthan and Kellen systems are part of our empire. Yes, sir, but they're sending secret messages to Earth. They want to know more about these social prediction algorithms and the human concept of voluntary cooperation between species. They're asking about alternatives to imperial control? It appears so, sir. Thexval realized with growing horror that Earth's message wasn't just a response to his fleet. It was a broadcast to the entire galaxy, and species throughout the Velnari Empire were listening. Back on Earth, Daun was watching the responses pour in from across space. 12 civilizations have made contact so far, Arya reported. More signals are being detected hourly. What kind of responses? Colonel Nam asked. Mixed. 7 species are expressing interest in peaceful contact and knowledge exchange. 3 are requesting detailed information about human defensive capabilities. 2 appear to be asking for assistance with their own political situations. Political situations? Yijin looked up from her analysis station. 2 species that are currently part of the Velnari Empire are asking for help with independence movements. The empire is fragmenting already? Chang Wu asked. It's starting to. Our demonstration showed other species that the Velnari aren't invincible. Our cultural analysis gave them hope that independence is possible, and our technological gifts proved that cooperation can be more beneficial than conquest. Dayun turned to Colonel Nam. What's the status of the Velnari fleet? They've withdrawn to the edge of the solar system. No hostile movements detected, but they're not leaving either. They're trying to decide what to do, Dr. Bay observed. Their entire worldview just got turned upside down. Good, Dawun said, because we're not done yet. She turned back to the communication console. Arya, prepare one final transmission to Commander Thexval. What kind of transmission, Director? A simple invitation. Tell him that if he wants to learn more about human science and diplomacy, he's welcome to send a small delegation to Earth for peaceful talks. And if he refuses? Dawun smiled. Yun. Then he can explain to his high command why 12 other species are now requesting to join a human-led cooperative instead of remaining in the Velnari Empire. As the message was sent, everyone in the room realized that they had just witnessed the beginning of a new era. Earth was no longer alone in the galaxy, and humanity had announced itself not as conquerors, but as teachers and friends. The question now was whether the rest of the galaxy was ready to learn. 3 weeks after first contact, Kyung-Suan stood in the Deep Space Communications Center watching signals arrive from across the galaxy. As Earth's new director of galactic communications, he was managing conversations with 27 different alien civilizations simultaneously. Status report, he said to his team. 17 new species made contact in the past 24 hours, reported his assistant, Ji-Hai Park. The human demonstration broadcast has now reached systems up to 80 light-years away. What kinds of responses are we getting? Mostly positive. The Kethmaran Republic wants to establish a trade agreement. The Zephyrian Collective is asking for help with their own defense systems, and we received something very interesting from the Altarian Federation. What did they say? They want to join something called the Terran Cooperative. Apparently, word is spreading that Earth is forming a new type of alliance based on voluntary cooperation instead of conquest. Kyung-Su smiled. The Terran Cooperative had been Daun Lim's idea. Instead of joining existing galactic powers, humanity would create something new. An alliance where species shared knowledge and resources freely, where no one was forced to follow orders from distant emperors. Any word from the Velnari Empire? That's where it gets interesting, Ji-Hai replied. 3 more Velnari member species have sent secret messages asking about independence procedures. The Vorthon system officially requested to join the Terran Cooperative yesterday. The Velnari leadership must be furious. Actually, no. We received an official communication from Velnari High Command this morning. Kyung-Su raised his eyebrows. What did they say? They're requesting membership in the Terran Cooperative. The entire Velnari Empire wants to join our alliance? Not the Empire. The individual species that make up the Empire. Apparently, our cultural analysis was so accurate that it convinced their leadership to dissolve the imperial structure and allow each member species to choose its own path. In another part of Seoul, Admiral Sunmi Jang was reviewing reports from the Korean Space Force's new Galactic Defense Division. The past 3 weeks had been the busiest in human history. Ma'am, her aide reported, we have confirmation that the Velnari invasion fleet has officially withdrawn from our solar system. Where did they go? Back to their home system, but not to prepare for another attack. According to communications, intercepts, Commander Thexval has been reassigned to diplomatic duty. Diplomatic duty? He's being trained to serve as the Velnari representative to the Terran Cooperative. Admiral Jang laughed. 3 weeks ago, he was planning to conquer us. Now he wants to be our ally. There's more, ma'am. We've received formal requests for defensive assistance from 6 different species. Apparently, there are other empires out there that haven't gotten the message about humanity's capabilities. Other empires? The Draxian hegemony controls about 30 systems in the galactic south. The Nexus Confederation has been expanding aggressively in the Outer Rim. Both groups are apparently very unhappy about the collapse of the Velnari Empire and the formation of the Terran Cooperative. Admiral Jang studied the galactic map on her screen. So, our demonstration solved one problem, but created new ones. Yes, ma'am, but we're not facing them alone anymore. She pulled up another display showing the current members of the Terran Cooperative. 31 species so far. 33 as of this morning, ma'am. And more joining every day. At the University of Seoul, Dr. In-Soo Hwang was preparing for his new job as Earth's first galactic ambassador. His office was filled with cultural guides, language tutorials, and diplomatic protocols for species humanity had never heard of a month ago. Dr. Hwang, his assistant, called out, "The delegation from the Kethmoran Republic has arrived." "Already? Their ship must have been faster than we expected." "Yes, sir. They're requesting permission to land at the new diplomatic complex." The diplomatic complex had been built in record time just outside Seoul. It was designed to accommodate visitors from dozens of different species, with varying atmospheric requirements, gravity preferences, and cultural needs. Tell them they're cleared to land. And activate the universal translation system. An hour later, In-Soo stood in the main reception hall, facing 3 alien beings, unlike anything humans had ever imagined. The Kethmoran representatives were tall and graceful, with silver skin and large eyes that seemed to see everything at once. "Welcome to Earth," In-Soo said, his words automatically translated by Aria's new diplomatic protocols. "We greet the teachers of the galaxy," the lead Kethmoran replied. "We have traveled far to learn from the species that showed the Velnari Empire that there is a better way." Teachers of the galaxy? That is what you are being called throughout. Civilized space. The species that turned defense into diplomacy. The ones who offer knowledge instead of demanding tribute. In-Soo felt a mixture of pride and responsibility. We're honored by that title, but we're still learning ourselves. That is why we respect you. You seek knowledge from others even as you share your own. This is the way of true civilization. Over the following hours, In-Soo learned that the galaxy was much larger and more complex than humanity had realized. There were hundreds of intelligent species, dozens of competing empires, and political situations that had been building tension for thousands of years. The Velnari were actually one of the smaller empires, the Kethmoran explained, but they controlled important trade routes and had advanced military technology. When your demonstration caused their empire to fragment, it changed the balance of power across the entire galaxy. Is that good or bad? It depends on what happens next. If the Terran Cooperative succeeds in creating a stable alternative to imperial conquest, it could bring peace to regions that have known only war for centuries. If it fails, what happens if it fails? Then the larger empires will move to fill the vacuum left by the Velnari collapse. Billions of beings will suffer under new forms of oppression. That evening, In-Soo met with the other Earth leaders to discuss what they had learned. "So we're not just managing first contact anymore," Daun observed. "We're potentially reshaping galactic politics. The question is whether we're ready for that responsibility," Admiral Jang said. Colonel Nam, who had been promoted to general and put in charge of cooperative defense, spoke up. "We may not have a choice. Our demonstration 3 weeks ago sent a message across the galaxy. Now everyone is watching to see what we do next." "What do you recommend?" In-Soo asked. "We do what we've been doing. We share knowledge, we defend our friends, and we prove that cooperation is stronger than conquest." Dr. Hyun-Woo Kim, who had started this whole situation by detecting the alien signals, raised his hand. "There's something else we need to consider." "What's that?" Arya has been analyzing the deep space signals we're receiving. There are older civilizations out there, much older. They've been watching our first contact situation, and some of them are starting to take notice of humanity. Good notice or bad notice? Both. Some are impressed by our diplomatic approach. Others are concerned about how quickly we've gained influence in galactic affairs. So we have new friends and new enemies? We have new opportunities and new challenges, Hyunwoo corrected. The galaxy is vast, and we've only just begun to explore our place in it. As the meeting ended, everyone realized that Earth's first contact with aliens had become something much larger. Humanity had not just defended itself against invasion. It had sparked a galactic revolution. In the months that followed, the Terran Cooperative grew to include over 100 species. Some were former members of collapsed empires. Others were independent worlds that had never known freedom. All of them were drawn to humanity's promise of voluntary cooperation and shared knowledge. The Draxian hegemony and Nexus Confederation did eventually move against the cooperative, but they found themselves facing not just Earth's advanced defenses, but the combined fleets of dozens of allied species. Years later, when historians studied this period, they would call it the Great Awakening. The time when the galaxy learned that there was an alternative to conquest and oppression. And it all started because a small blue planet refused to surrender to invaders who had underestimated the power of human ingenuity, cooperation, and the simple refusal to give up. Commander Thexval, now Ambassador Thexval, would often tell other species about the day his invasion fleet arrived at Earth expecting to find primitive animals, and instead discovered teachers who changed the galaxy forever. They set their sights on Earth, he would say, but humanity's warning shook the stars themselves.